Return on assets is equal to, remember when we say return, we're referring to net income divided by average total assets. It looks a little bit like our asset turnover formula, doesn't it? Can you see how the two can sometimes be confused? Our asset turnover says how many sales, remember think turnover, think sales. How many sales are being generated by your assets? The return on assets, sales is part of the story, but with sales come expenses. And the full story is how much income did you generate from your asset investment? So this tells us the efficiency of our assets, or our investment in assets, because remember, assets cost money. We have to finance them with either liabilities or equity. How well do those assets generate? It tells us about the efficiency of our assets in generating income. For every dollar invested in assets, how much income was produced? Let's look at Walmart, Costco in terms of ROA. Walmart's net income 15,511, average total assets 247,798. This works out to be 6.3 or 6%. So for every dollar invested in assets, Walmart generated 6 cents in income. And for Costco, net income 6,292, average assets 66,850. And this works out to be 9.5%. So we see Costco does a much better job using its assets to generate net income. ROA can be broken down into its two components, or drivers, which is really helpful because then it tells management what can we do in order to help improve ROA. ROA can be calculated equal to profit margin times asset turnover. We looked at each of these items before. Asset turnover, how efficiently are your assets generating sales dollars? And profit margin, how well are your sales dollars resulting in net income? How well are you able to control your expenses? Of course, when I write sales, I really mean net sales, sales after all returns allowances. Sales divided by average total assets. We can see why ROA is equal to these two components. If we cancel out the sales, we get net income over average total assets. But this is helpful because it looks at these two drivers, profit margin and asset turnover, in terms of producing that resulting income generated from assets. So this is our profitability of sales. Multiplied by our efficiency or effectiveness of our assets. All right, so let's look at these amounts for Walmart and Costco. Walmart's profit margin was 2.4%. Remember, the margins are percentages. The turnovers were number of times. Walmart's asset turnover was 2.59. This is not a percentage. This is a number of times. And this works out to be, when we take a percentage and multiply it by a number of times, we're going to result in a percentage. This works out to be 6.3%. Should match what we have up above. So I wrote 6%, but work out to be 6.3%. And Costco has a profit margin of 2.6%. And we saw that the asset turnover was 3.64%. And when we multiplied these two terms, we know Costco won in terms of both the profit margin was higher and the asset turnover was higher. So this is a no-brainer. We know Costco is going to be higher. This works out to be 9.5%, which we saw. The analysis becomes a little bit more interesting when one company has a higher profit margin and the other company has the higher asset turnover.